The Çandarlı family had served the Ottoman dynasty for many years. The first known member of the family was Çandarlı Kara Halil Pasha. When Kara Pasha's teacher became a vizier to Orhan Gazi, he was also appointed as a Bursa judge. In the period of Murad I, when a new authority, the Kazaskery, was established above all the kadis, Kara Halil Pasha came to this office and was later promoted to the vizierate. Çandarlı Halil Pasha's father, Ibrahim Pasha, was with Musa Çelebi in Edirne. In those years, the Ottomans sent Ibrahim Pasha to collect the tax they received from Byzantium every 10 years. It showed that he was a judge. In the following year, when he supported Murad II during the Mustafa Çelebi incident, Pasha was appointed as the Grand Vizier. With the death of Ibrahim Pasha in 1429, Çandarlı Halil Pasha, one of his 3 sons, he was promoted to the Grand Viziership from the Kazaskery. And the duty of Halil, who will be the Grand Vizier for the longest time in Ottoman history, has begun. Since the Sultan Murad II did not want to deal with state affairs, he transferred most of the affairs to Çandarlı Halil Pasha. In this way, Çandarlı became an important authority on the state. When the second Murad was only 40 years old, he summoned his 12-year-old son Mehmed, who was the governor of Manisa, to Edirne to replace him. And in the same year he handed over the throne to his son. The fact that Sultan Murad enthroned his son at such a young age was considered strange by many. The reason for this was that Murad felt tired, and despite everything, he thought that Mehmed had a character that could rule the state with the help of the Grand Vizier. In addition to this, Murad's desire to quit these works and fall into mystical life outweighed. However, this was not as easy as one might think. Taking advantage of the fact that such a young and inexperienced person took the lead of the Ottoman Empire, some circles took action to overthrow the Ottoman Empire. In particular, the Grand Vizier Halil Pasha gave privileges to neighboring countries with some treaties. In the following days, Balkan countries and Karamanogolari started to cooperate against the Ottomans. Mehmed intervened here immediately. As a result, the West entered into efforts to create a crusader army again. This negative situation caused some unrest in the country. There were dualities between the pashas. Although Murad left the reign to his son Mehmed, he left the administration to Çandarlı Halil Pasha. However, the little sultan, who acted with the suggestions of his Lalasi Zaganos Pasha, acted as he wanted. This situation greatly disturbed Halil Pasha. The Crusader army formed by the West soon set out from the Balkans. This sparked a new controversy. Who would lead the army? Supporters of the young sultan's reign insisted that he himself should go against the enemy. However, Grand Vizier Halil Pasha and those around him said that it would be more appropriate for Murad to go on the expedition and for Mehmed to stay in the capital. At this point, 2 separate groups had formed around the 2 sultans in question, his father and himself during this period. At the head of those who supported Murad was Grand Vizier Çandarlı Halil Pasha. At the head of those who supported Mehmed was his tulip, Zaganos Pasha. While the first group tried to protect Murad's ruling cadre, the second group sought to prove that Mehmed was the real sultan. Therefore, these 2 different groups were in constant conflict. Halil Pasha, who conveyed that great dangers awaited the Ottoman Empire, wanted Murad to come to Edirne and take the throne again. Then, he held a meeting with the state officials and made a decision for Sultan Murad to ascend to the throne again. Halil Pasha, who presented this decision to Sultan Mehmed, said that only his father could resist the enemy and that the gentleman had an opinion in this direction. In addition, after this event was settled, he received his approval by saying that the sultanate was again his own. According to the reports, Mehmed gave the following reaction to this situation. Since there were these possibilities, wouldn't it be nice to do business with the accuracy of thinking first and acting later? This is far-sightedness, and is it nothing but a fault in precaution? After receiving Mehmed's unwilling approval, a letter is sent to Murad. If the Sultanate is in your bliss, action has been taken to ruin your property. I present and warn the importance of the issue. If the Sultanate is on this side, there is a Sultan's order to be at the head of the army. I convey and inform the necessity of obedience. Although it is claimed that this letter was written by Mehmed himself, considering the development of events, Mehmed's personality and his insistence on going to war at the head of the army, it is thought that he is far from the personality to write such a letter. At the end of these processes, Murad became the commander of the army again, and the Battle of Varna was won. Murad, who remained on the throne for a while, left the throne to his son Mehmed and withdrew to Manisa. Mehmed's reign this time lasted for several months. Because in 1446, a Janissary revolt called the Büyüktepe Rebellion started in Edirne. According to some historians, this rebellion was a game orchestrated by Çandarlı Halil Pasha to force Murad to the throne. After this event, Halil Pasha and some statesmen secretly invited Murad to the throne. Murad accepted this invitation and sent Mehmed back to Manisa Sancak in Edirne, where he came under the pretext of hunting. Although Mehmed did not like this situation, he accepted it. Halil Pasha, who had acted independently in the last 5 years of Murad, regained his former power. Mehmed, on the other hand, had improved himself in his personality and state experience during these years when his father was reigning. However, his father also brought Prince Mehmed to Edirne from time to time, took him on some expeditions and gained experience. Aside from the fact that Mehmed was deemed unsuccessful and humiliated, especially by Çandarlı Halil Pasha, the revolt of the Janissaries against him affected him so much that he planned how to deal with Çandarlı and the Janissaries during this time. He was going to do something so great that no one would be able to oppose him again. Upon the death of his father on February 18, 1451, Mehmed, who was 19 years old, was invited to the throne by Halil Pasha. When Mehmed ascended the throne, he pretended to forget his grudge against Halil Pasha and left him in his office. His Lala Zaganos Pasha was appointed as the vizier and given many powers. This situation put Halil Pasha in the background, albeit a bit. 2. Who came to the throne again? Mehmed adopted a political understanding based on conquest with the suggestions of the rulers close to him, especially Zaganos Pasha. The first target of this policy was Istanbul. Mehmed held a meeting to reach a consensus on this idea and reach a decision. Emphasizing the importance of Istanbul for the state at the meeting, Mehmed asked all participants to freely express their opinions on this issue. While those who were on the side of the young sultan supported this idea, the group on the side of Çandarlı opposed the sultan's opinion, claiming the durability of the castle. In the end, despite the opposition, Istanbul was conquered. Notaros, one of the Byzantine administrators who came before the sultan, told Mehmed that they had received inside information. Then, rumors emerged that this person was Halil Pasha and that he had taken a bribe. Halil Pasha, who had himself dethroned twice, fell into the hands of the sultan. Mehmed, who had already planned this in his mind, was afraid of the power of the pasha at the beginning of the sultanate, but with the capture of Istanbul, he now had the power. He dismissed Halil Pasha a few days after the conquest and sent him to Edirne and then had him executed. Then he turned his target to the Janissaries. When he ascended to the throne in 1451, he abolished the Janissary lordship to punish the rebellious Janissaries. The office of Agalik was ruled by Sekbanbasis until it was brought back by Yavuz Sultan Selim. The Çandarlı family, on the other hand, was going through the worst times in its history. Çandarlı Halil Pasha had 6 sons and 2 daughters. Only Bayezid made his son Ibrahima Kazaskery and then the Grand Vizier. But after that, no one in the family could rise to such an office. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next video, take care and goodbye.